all of you who join us here, welcome to the Blue Sky Vid-Cast, where the magic and history of Disneyland meet your imagination. This all-new YouTube channel will bring you weekly videos looking at Disneyland, Disneyland history, the attractions, the designers, Walt Disney himself, and food reviews, as well as talking about when your Disney fan switch flipped. We all have those stories and we can't wait to hear yours soon. Disneyland USA is our favorite park, and Walt Disney is one of the most inspiring creators. Today, let's consider his contributions to the restaurants of Walt Disney parks and discover his favorite places to eat. Stay tuned as we take a look at how to eat like Walt when visiting Disneyland. Hello everyone, I'm Don Morin, your host for the Blue Sky Vid-Cast. Welcome back, you're right where you belong. One of our favorite things to do at Disneyland is to connect with Walt Disney. I've found over the years, the more I learn about the man, the more incredible he seems as a builder, dreamer, and visionary leader. Have you ever wondered what Walt ate while he was at the park? Where were his favorite spots to grab a bite, and do any of them still exist today? How do I go into the park and walk in Walt's footsteps and eat like Walt? With some inspiration from our friend and author Marcy Character Smothers and her book Eat Like Walt, we invite you to take a tour with us as we search for Walt Disney's favorite food spots all around Disneyland. Now fasten your buckle, pull in that yellow tab, and let's enjoy the ride. Walt Disney is often described by those who knew him well as a complex man but a simple eater. And as Marcy points out in her book, Walt certainly never intended to go into the restaurant business. Nonetheless, he had many ideas about what his park was going to be like and the role that food would play. He knew, and P.S., it was a novel idea at the time, that the food needed to support and not clash with the theme of the lands. He wanted to offer an exotic variety of foods while still offering familiar, popular eats and flavors for his park guests. He also knew he needed to partner with outside businesses to help fund the creation of his park and to run his in-park restaurants, so many partnerships were born. As we enter the park today, starting on Main Street, USA, we can see that little has changed over the years, and there are still several places to grab a snack just like Walt would have. To understand more about Walt himself, pause for a moment at the firehouse located in Town Square. Above the fire station is Walt Disney's private apartment in Disneyland, where even with a park full of delicious options, he and his wife Lillian often cooked simple meals of soup and grilled cheese for themselves and their friends. If you are lucky enough to get a tour of the apartment, you will see his small galley with a grilled cheese maker still sitting on the counter today. After that, you just might need to head on down to the end of Main Street, USA, and buy the house special at the Jolly Holiday Bakery. Soup and grilled cheese, creamy and delicious, the best in the park, just like Walt would have loved. Now, at some point during your day, maybe even at the end of the day as you are preparing to leave the park, be sure to stop by the Gibson Girl Ice Cream Parlor located about halfway down Main Street. In Walt's day, it was the Carnation Ice Cream Parlor, but the idea is still the same: great ice cream, malts, and milkshakes. Walt loved a good milkshake, though he apparently preferred a certain cast member to make them so they would be just right. He liked to sit in a back booth of the Carnation Ice Cream Parlor where he could sit undisturbed and watch guests enjoying their day. The next time you are there, be sure to ask a cast member to point out the booth. You might also try heading to the intersection at Center Street and Main Street to the modern-day Carnation Cafe, where you can order yourself a fine bowl of Walt's chili. Chili was possibly Walt's favorite food. In later life, he enjoyed many different versions, but as a young professional, he often ate canned chili. Walt mixed 1 can of Geppert's chili and 1 can of Denison's chili to get what he thought was the perfect ratio of beans to beef. Okay, I know you might be getting a bit full, but we need to make one more stop on Main Street at the Hub before we're headed off to Adventureland. The Red Wagon Inn was one of the largest restaurants to open in the park in 1955. It had a little something for everybody. It was run by an outside company, and when its lease came up in 1965, Walt took over the lease and created the Plaza Inn that we know today. It was the most ambitious Disneyland restaurant remodel at the time. Designed by Walt and Disney legend John Hench in grand Disney Victorian style. Full of many hand-picked, lavish Victorian pieces chosen by Lillian and Walt themselves. Walt seemed to really enjoy the place and held several receptions inside the Plaza Inn. Today's menu has not changed much at all. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans were a favorite of Walt's, which also allowed him a tradition of chicken dinners at Disneyland. Also my personal favorite at the park. The chicken is crispy and the beans are fresh, creamy mashed potatoes. It's a can't miss. It is also one of the largest portions available in the park, so make sure you come hungry and have a meal just like Walt. Now, let's venture out into the 4 lands that existed when Walt was at Disneyland. Let's follow some true life adventure and head to the nature and excitement of Adventureland. In Adventureland, take a quick peek at the Tiki Room. Not for the Dole Whip, but because this was originally envisioned to be a restaurant. First, it was designed as an Asian cuisine table service experience, featuring a Confucius-like animatronic that would have predated Lincoln himself. Later, the space became the Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. We now know today, but was originally intended to be a restaurant that cycled new guests every hour, offering a quick, light meal and a show. In fact, there are 2 remnants of this idea that were actually constructed. If you have ever wondered why the Tiki Room Lanai had its own bathrooms, now you know, as they are required by code for a table service restaurant. Also, the center fountain pedestal in the show was designed to be a waiter station and has cabinets that still open to this day. Frontierland was special to Walt. Before Disneyland even opened, he held his 30th wedding anniversary at Slewfoot Sue's Golden Horseshoe, enjoying the first performance of the long-running revue. Just before dinner, they enjoyed mint juleps from the 2nd level of the Mark Twain as they cruised the rivers of America at night. While you can no longer purchase mint juleps on the Mark Twain, you can still see where the serving area was located on board. Newer California codes require running water in all serving areas, so the food service practice on the ship had to stop. If you want to eat like Walt, try grabbing a mint julep at the window in New Orleans Square, and then board the Mark Twain to relax and take in the fine park views while you sip your cool, refreshing southern drink. Remember, Walt approved the mixture for the non-alcoholic drink himself. Then you can head to the Golden Horseshoe, which by the way has not changed much since it opened. Here you can order some chicken tenders or fried fish or even ice cream. Sit in Walt's private box located off to the house right or stage left in the lower box and imagine him there watching the guests and the show. Walt himself picked out the longhorns that adorn the restaurant. In his day, the menu offered sandwiches, Fritos, and potato chips. Did you know? Doritos were invented at Disneyland. In the same location where the Rancho del Zocalo restaurant is located today, the Casa del Fritos restaurant, leased by the Fritos Company, operated for many years. Imagineers helped them create an elaborate vending machine system for the restaurant that displayed many fun effects before it would deliver its bag of chips from Frito the Kid himself. And it wasn't just Fritos. At the request of a delivery person, a cook took the day's tortilla leftovers and refried them as small chips and added some seasoning, which quickly became popular with guests. Within months, they were selling Doritos at Disneyland. The most iconic restaurant in Fantasyland used to be the Chicken of the Sea restaurant, located on a large pirate ship moored in a small pond located where the Dumbo ride is found today. Tuna was a staple of the mid-century American diet, and the tuna burger at the Chicken of the Sea restaurant was famous. The upper deck was a walk-through attraction of a Spanish galleon overlooking a pond with a waterfall of Peter Pan's Skull Rock fame, and the food was served below decks. If you are interested in imagining the original ship and restaurant, ride Peter Pan's Flight, where you can see many repurposed pieces of that historic sailing ship. The 1983 refurbishment even included the ship's wheel, which you can see as Peter commandeers the Jolly Roger. Fantasyland also used to be the home to the Welch Grape Juice Bar, tucked between Snow White and the Mickey Mouse Club Theater. They had really cool fountains for the juice and soda that allowed you to see the gallons and gallons of purple juice flowing. But mostly, if you want to eat like Walt in Fantasyland, have yourself a hot dog or hamburger. According to the book Eat Like Walt, chairman of Disney International, Jim Cora, is quoted as saying, Fantasyland will always be a hot dog and hamburger land. Tomorrowland, a vista into a world of wondrous ideas. This futuristic land, according to Walt's daughter Diane, might have been his favorite land overall. When the park opened in 1955, Tomorrowland was set in the year 1986. Unfortunately, this land suffered from budget and time shortfalls. On opening day, the Space Bar opened right across from the Autopia track, serving burgers, tuna fish, and hot dogs. Walt used to love to eat at the grill while visiting the Autopia with his grandchildren. So head over to the Galactic Grill and order a burger before taking a ride on the Autopia, just like Walt. You should also be sure to get yourself a cold bottle of milk and sit down at the Tomorrowland Plaza and enjoy the milk and the vibrant surroundings like Walt did. Tomorrowland hosted the Dairy Bar for a few years during Walt's time. Run by the American Dairy Association, it offered milk and ice cream until later when Disney signed an exclusive contract with Carnation. We lost Walt Disney just a few months before New Orleans Square opened. However, Walt did have a great deal to do with the planning of the layout, attractions, and the food. He wanted the land to be the Paris of the American frontier. When visiting New Orleans Square, make yourself a reservation at the Blue Bayou restaurant. After years of various attempts, Walt finally invested major resources, including his Imagineers and a significant budget, into creating a heavily themed eating experience. Considered a prototype for the themed restaurant industry, Walt was integral to its development. Music performed by the local crickets and frogs, as well as live entertainment, were considered, but it was Walt who decided that the food should be the show along with the atmosphere. The frogs and crickets got to stay as background effect. Walt wanted to showcase the Creole and French-Spanish cooking of New Orleans. However, from day one, it's the Monte Cristo sandwich that has reigned supreme as the fan favorite. Ham, turkey, and cheese between two pieces of French toast and deep fried. It is crisp, savory, and joyfully, deliciously sweet. Order one and you can eat just like Walt did during guest previews for the restaurant. Walt also envisioned the Creole Cafe as a coffee house to honor the history of the city as a coffee distributor. It has since evolved into another sit-down table restaurant, probably because of the immense popularity of the Blue Bayou. Finally, Walt was heavily involved with the creation and conception of the famous Club 33, although he never was able to lift a glass or entertain guests within its walls. Built as an exclusive club, many of the appointments and dishes are items that Walt liked or was impressed with over the years. It is still filled with his personal touch and whimsy. When at Club 33, order yourself a Scotch Mist, Walt's favorite drink. Head over to the window and stare out at the rivers of America and New Orleans Square in a melancholy way. Then quietly hum a few bars of Feed the Birds to yourself. Ah, just like Walt might have. We hope the next time you are in Disneyland, you can take a moment to visit one of these places and have a meal and a moment just like Walt did. Thank you to Marcy Carricker Smothers for creating such a fantastic and inspirational book. We highly recommend ordering a copy of Eat Like Walt for yourself. It is absolutely worth reading, and the photos, some never seen before, are priceless. Thanks for joining me, your host, Don Morin, in the Blue Sky Vid-Cast, where the magic and history of Disneyland meet your imagination. There is so much more to come with Blue Sky Vid-Cast. We've already had so much fun researching and putting together these videos just for you. And I'm excited to be bringing media, history, news, interviews of park luminaries, and more via this new YouTube channel. We would love if you enjoy the show to like and subscribe, and be sure to share with your friends and fellow Disney fans. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.